Hi, I'm Tiekka. Welcome to Everyday Ballet, where we bring gorgeous classical ballet principles, training, and style to everyday life. You don't need a dancer's body. You don't need to know anything about ballet. I'm here to show you everything about this gorgeous technique and how to use ballet for your life. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to point your feet and toes. In ballet, we are always using the feet and pointing the toes, and yet so many people don't quite know how to do this, so we're going to go over those specifics so that you can feel confident starting on your ballet journey. Have a chair handy, and if you have one, a tennis ball is something that we will be using to help ourselves line up our feet and toes. I'm so delighted you're here. Let's ballet. In ballet, when we are pointing the feet and toes, essentially what we are doing is pushing against the floor with all parts of the foot to reach out to the tips of the toes. So we are gliding and actually using the floor as a tool of resistance. And this develops enormous strength in the feet, in the ankles, in the posture, just all the way up through the body. And this is the kind of strength we need in order to be able to eventually rise up on the tips of our toes in point shoes. So the first thing to know about pointing the feet and toes is that you want to use the foot against the floor. So an image I like to use is that of standing in wet sand at the beach. If you were standing in wet sand and I said, run your foot through that sand and press and point the toes at the end, that is exactly the kind of pressure that you want as you glide the foot along the floor. So that is the basic element. We're using the foot against the floor to reach out all the way to the tips of the toes. What's also important here with our pointing of our feet and toes is that we maintain the alignment of the foot. And that's why we have the chair here. So what we're going to do is just sit down in our chair and just find a comfortable seat. Sit a little bit towards the front of your chair with the feet flat on the floor. Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be brushing the foot along the floor, just sitting up with our good posture. And as we do this, we want to glide out through the second toe. So the second toe is the one that is next to the big toe. When we glide out through the second toe, it will keep our heel lined up so that it's right behind the shin. What we don't want is that as we glide out, we don't want to go out to the pinky toe side. This is called sickling because it is making a sickled shape with the ankle. So instead, we want to press down through the second toe and keep the heel traveling out right behind the second toe. So we press into the floor and push, 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 push to stretch through the second toe. And then we drag that second toe back in as we replace the heel. Notice that on the way out, as well as on the way in, the heel is managed and is not poking out to the side. So that is what we are after. I'm going to do the other side for you. We're stretching out, 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 feeling the second toe and dragging back to place the heel down. And again, out, 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 reaching through the second toe and dragging back, 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 back to come in. So this is the basic element of stretching and pointing the toes, is keeping the heel aligned and pressing through each part of the foot to reach through the toes. The other thing that we want to consider when we are stretching and pointing the toes is what's actually happening with the toes themselves. And I'm going to take my shoe off so that you can see. So when you point the toes, you actually want to reach and lengthen through the toes. You don't want to curl the toes like this. We're not doing this. We're actually stretching out over the arch of the foot and reaching out over the toes. So don't think of buckling your toes and clenching them up. Instead, almost feel like the energy to point your toes starts up here at the shin, and you're reaching out over the shin, over the arch, and through the toes. And now that I have my shoe off, you can kind of see a little bit better the levels of the foot. It's very important to notice the ball of the foot here. The ball of the foot is this part, and this part is very strong in the ballet dancer. And again, that's what helps us get up to those tippy top point shoes. So we are going to do an exercise. I'm going to take my other shoe off here. We're going to do an exercise with our tennis ball that is going to help us to try to strengthen the metatarsal, the ball of the foot, and reach out over the shin. Once again, sitting on the edge of your chair with your feet flat on the floor. Take your tennis ball and just scoot your feet apart just a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to take this tennis ball and place it between the ankles. So on your ankles, you have that knobby bone right here. And it's that bone, we're going to place the tennis ball directly under that part. So sitting now with your knees, they can be together or they can be just as far apart as the ball is. What we're going to do is we're going to press into the ball of the foot, squeezing that ball so that it doesn't fall out. And from here, we can lower back down. And once again, pressing up. And as you get to the top, wherever that is for you, see if you can feel like you're reaching down through the shins and lowering it down. And once again, pressing up to the top and lowering down and pressing up to the top, squeezing that ball and lowering down. Now we are going to go a little bit further to point the toes. The whole time we still want to be squeezing that ball so that we don't lose it, and we want to press down through the second toe. So here we go, nice and slow. We press up to the ball and pressing through the second toe, we point. And now coming back down to the ball and pressing down through the heel. And then once again, squeezing that ball and coming up and using the metatarsals, the ball of the foot to point, and then coming down the same way and all the way back down to the floor. Let's try 2 more times, drawing up and reaching out over the shins through the second toe and coming back and placing down. And last time, coming up and reaching out over the shins, over the arch, over the second toe, and coming back down to finish. Now, there's a lot of work there in the feet, and it's not just the feet. You'll notice it's also the calves. The entire lower leg is really activated when we start pointing the feet and toes. So let's go ahead and stand back up and put our chair off to the side. And now that we're back on our feet, we're going to try moving through the levels of the foot and being guided by that second toe, now in a standing position. So to begin, just take the legs parallel, bring the seams of the feet together. Now from here, we want to do the same thing we were doing as we were sitting down in the chair. We want to press through the second toe, and we want to start to come through the levels of the foot. So first we go through the ball, and then we reach out and stretch out over the arch and the toes. And then coming back through the second toe, we drag it back and replace the heel. And again, stretching out with a straight leg, lifting the heel right behind the shin, reaching through the second toe, and then finding the levels, feeling the metatarsal, and then dragging the heel back to the beginning position. And now let's do the other side. So sending the other side out through the second toe, and then reaching out over the arch, and then dragging back through the ball of the foot, and bringing the heel underneath. And then once again, pressing out, feeling the levels, traveling through the ball, and then reaching through the toes, and then dragging back through the second toe, keeping that heel lined up right behind the shin, and bringing it back. Good. So the thing that we want to be mindful of is that we don't let the heel go out to the side like this. This leaves the sides of our ankles vulnerable to being sprained. So it's really important to keep that heel lined up right behind the shin. For the last part here, we're going to turn out the feet in a gentle first position and explore how that second toe and the levels of the footwork in turnout. So go ahead and find a gentle first position with the heels together and the toes gently apart. Now from here, press down through the second toe with a straight leg. You're going to press the leg away. Second toe is pressing, and then finally you reach out over the shin, the arch, the toes. On the way back, you again find that second toe. Try to keep the heel pressing forward as you bring it back. So something that I often see in the studio is that people go out to a beautiful tendu, stretched leg. And then when they come back, that ankle drops back and they just kind of like smush the leg back into first. Make sure that on the way out, you're pressing through the second toe. Same thing on the way back in. Press through the second toe. Don't let it go to the pinky toe. Keep it on the second toe and keep that heel lined up. Same thing to the side, pressing down through the second toe, keeping that heel lined up behind the shin, reaching out over the arch and toes, and then finding the levels of the foot and drawing it back underneath you. Once again, here at the side, we press out through the ball, reach through the toes, feeling the second toe, the ball, and bringing it back underneath. Now to the back, it's just a little bit different, and that's because we're gonna feel a little bit more on the big toe. So when we go to the back, you still wanna feel that second toe pressing down, and you wanna draw that heel right up behind the shin and reach. And when you come back, finding that second toe, don't let it go back like this, the ankle. Keep that ankle tucked behind the shin, and then drawing it underneath. Let's try that one more time. Pressing out, levels of the foot, hugging in, reaching out, stretching through the knee, the shin, the arch, the toes, and then finding the ball of the foot, the second toe, and drawing it right back underneath you. I find it's very, very helpful to go slow in the beginning with those tendus. And if you haven't seen the tendu video, definitely check it out. So that is a little bit of information about how to stretch and point the feet and toes in ballet. Until next time, happy dancing.